Yes, there's Mel. Good to see you. As I was explaining, Mel, to the other class attendees this evening, I'm not my usual jolly self. I think I've got the flu from my grandson who lives with me. So
Oh,
if I cough, forgive me. If I poop out, forgive me. But I'm going to do my best to get through this evening, okay?
it's okay. My son just had a virus, a stomach virus, so I'm all good.
Fortunately, I don't have an upset stomach. I hate that. Hey, Will. Good to see you. And let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and show my desktop with the agenda. So I hope everyone can see that. Somebody say yes. Or is it still loading?
It's loading.
Loading.
Let me know when it's up.
Got it.
Okay, good. Mel, how about you?
I see it now.
Okay, great. Will?
I got you.
Tammy? Well, I hope everybody's up, but I'm going to move on. Welcome to the Week 5 live session, chaired by yours truly, whatever, and you. Here's tonight's objectives. We're going to take roll again, and I'm going to do that. You don't have to. No worries. I'll ask you what questions you might have. We'll look at the Week 5 objectives and the assignments, and we'll discuss anything else on your mind as we are rapidly closing in on the end of our class. Can you believe it?
Quickly.
Okay, who's here? Well, this is how I feel. So just bear with me, please.
I think that's the first solid colored shirt that you've worn. Although your tie makes up for it.
Yeah, that's actually a Beatles theme tie. It's Good Day Sunshine, but you can't see the majority of it. In any case, let's see. So I'm going back to my Skype feed so I can see everybody that's here. I've got one of the Christophers, Cindy, Mel, Tammy, and Will. And that's it for right now. All right, let's move on. Anybody got questions regarding how things are going, or just generally, if you have any questions to begin our evening, I'm all ears. They're not plugged up yet. Guess not. That's cool. We'll move on. And you know, if it's a short session tonight, it's okay. It's okay.
It's not gonna break your heart, right?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's kind of a thing where, you know, you get used to the routine, and a lot of the things that may have seemed mysterious or difficult or challenging is now, you know, old hat to you. And so I don't wonder that your questions might have dissipated some. Anybody looking at that final exam in week 6 and going, what is that? Just curious.
I have not.
Okay. Well, that's all right. I don't mean to rush you. Hey, Francine, good to have you with us. Can you unmute your mic? When convenient. When convenient.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm like literally running in the door.
That's great. Okay. Well, we're on page whatever of my PowerPoint, which is actually a PDF. Regarding questions, Francine, do you have any off the top? Any questions?
Not about the material, but I was wondering, I don't know, maybe for the last class, if we could maybe discuss some stuff that it's going to be on the final.
Yeah, see, there's a question about the final, you guys. I had just brought it up while you were walking in the door, Francine.
It was an underhanded pitch, and we totally whipped.
Here's the deal on the final exam. Number one, it is going to be very challenging. Number two, I have to tell you, I did not craft it. This is done by the curriculum developers. It's very comprehensive, will concern all the course topics from week 1 through week 6. 30 question multiple choice. And I will tell you, the average score that I've seen on this exam is probably in the low 70s. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So I know you guys are stars, and I know you're used to, really excelling.
You just gave me a heart attack that's gonna mess up my GPA.
Don't say that. You're gonna excel, Francine.
It's multiple choice. I don't understand. I mean, as long as we don't have to make a movie or do all that, I mean, how hard can it be?
I loved your movie, Will.
I mean, you guys just put us through all this weird stuff, and now it's multiple choice. I'm trying to figure out how that's going to be hard.
Oh, who we got? What am I hearing? Christopher, are you there?
Yes.
Hey, is this Christopher Vincent?
Yes, it is. Finally.
You did it, man. High five.
Bye-bye.
Fist bump. I am so glad because you guys, Christopher has been trying to join our live sessions since we started, and he's had frustrating technical issues. So that's why I'm very happy that he was able to join us this evening. Yeah, welcome. Christopher, do you have any question? Well, first let me finish about the final exam with Francine, and then I'll ask you if you have any questions off the top, okay? Francine, as to the final exam, I said multiple choice, 30 questions, average score in the low 70s, which is, yeah, I know, it's difficult. I will tell you, if you come back with a score that you think you just can't live with, I can reset that exam for you, and I do that for any of you students, and you can take it again, but it won't be any easier. So it may be lower, and then you'll be stuck with a lower score. I'll just do that for you if you wish.
Is it like a timed event? You only have like 20 minutes to do it, or what?
Fortunately not. It is timed. Fortunately, it's a good deal more than 20 minutes. It's 3 hours. So from start
you can look everything up.
You can. Yes, you can. And I don't know how many students do. I'm trying to think if I've ever had a student ace it. I've had students get in the 90 percentiles, but it's fairly rare. So even though, yes, it's open book basically, you have 3 hours to complete it.
Those 90s will be in this group right here. I sense it.
Go for it.
I mean, you can look it up. I don't know.
Sounds good to me, guys. So Francine, does that answer your questions about the final exam?
Yes, sir. I didn't know if maybe we could go over maybe some of the material. Not that you I don't know, maybe give us some practice questions. I know we did some practice questions at the beginning of the course.
Right.
Or, I don't know, like each week, what areas we really should concentrate on.
I'm going to take a look at that. I frankly cannot promise to do that. That exam is crafted the way it is by the academic team for specific reasons. I don't mind coming up with some practice questions, but as to the specific areas for the exam, I'm not sure I can do that. I think I'm going to have to ask.
Is it fair to say, Professor Baker, for every reading, there is at the end of each chapter, there's like a one-pager that says key things to remember. If we just know everything that's in all of those readings, we should be good, correct?
Excuse me. Sorry. Theoretically, okay, as I say, I did not review the exam before tonight's session, okay? So
there shouldn't be anything that we haven't read about, right?
I would think that there would be a high level of congruity between those things to remember and what's on the exam.
Okay.
But the questions that, the framing of the questions can be fairly frustrating, I think, because of those scores. So I just telling you this in advance so you know that it's going to be a challenge for you, and maybe more of a challenge than doing a video.
Will we know our scores right away? Or
Yeah, I think so. I see it's automatically scored. It's not something I do.
Oh, wow.
The system scores it. So if you have a question about it, you know, if you can't see your score, you can ask me, and I'll be happy to tell you.
I have not looked at the week, but how does the final exam work in? I mean, do we have like a full week's worth of work and then a final exam? How does that?
Let's go look. Now you're still on my desktop, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay, good. Let's go look. Okay, so along with participation, of course, and the final exam, which is the big grade you can see, I've crafted a new assignment. Excuse me while I cough. Sorry. Organizational metrics analysis, and this.
Okay, so it looks like we're gonna have a full week. A full week.
This is not going to be a bear, okay? And you have no team assignment.
Okay.
So I think you can knock this thing up pretty easy, I think. Did I say up? I meant out. You can knock it out real easy. That make sense? Who's laughing?
Dr. Baker, when we start the exam, right, can say we have to pause it for a reason? Can we pause it, or once we start it, we got to finish it?
I mean, pause it, but I mean, the pause is basically you have 3 hours to complete it. If you walk away after an hour and a half and come back, you know, you have whatever time is left in that 3 hours to complete it. I don't know that there's like a pause control button or anything like that.
But is that over 3 hours, like on that Monday? Is it on a specific time that we've got to be available?
Once you hit the start button, once you hit start exam, it starts your time right then. And you have 3 hours from that moment. I've taken my test before on Phoenix a bunch of times, and when you don't finish it, or say your computer shuts you out or shoots you out the page, it'll start you wherever you left off, minus however minutes it took you to get back. So once the 3 hours have ended, it automatically shoots you out of the test. If you're not finished or not, it still shoots you out, and that's your grade. So if you haven't had a chance to answer all the questions, once your 3 hours is up, you won't get the chance.
Yeah, thanks, Mel. I just didn't know, because this is my first class. Is there like, okay, it starts at 5 o'clock that night, or do you have a whole day to do it?
Yeah.
You can start taking the test at midnight after Monday. Once our class ends at midnight Phoenix time, the test will be accessible for you to take at midnight.
She means midnight, Monday, the
Arizona time.
26th, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, 26.
So we start week
26.
6. We start week 6 on the 19th. It'll be available on the 19th. And it will be unavailable after the 25th, which is the end of the week. Okay? So you can do it any time in that week.
Yeah. Got it. All right, so it's very convenient, just like all these other things. Okay.
Hope so.
Wow, you got a week to do it. Yeah.
The times I didn't taken it, other than me falling asleep on one test, I finished all of them within the the 3 hours. I've never not finished a test within the 3 hours. It's only 30 questions, but sometimes the questions, like he said, are kind of confusing because they try to trick you. Some of the questions try to trick you, but you just got to stick with go with your first mind. That's all I can tell you. I've never failed a test. I am kind of worried with him saying it's 70%, but I've never missed more than 4 questions since I've been in Phoenix in the 5 years taking my finals.
Okay, good. I'm glad. So maybe this is the 90 percentile group. Works for me. Okay. Any other questions on the final exam? I just wanted to give you that head, even though it's week 5, it's not week 6. I wanted to give you that heads up. That's not my phone, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm in that class thing.
Okay, our week 5 objectives from the syllabus. Leadership function within the managerial role. And we have discussed in a number of our weeks the difference between leadership and managership. And I don't want to belabor that. I think y'all have a pretty good idea of it. But I would like to say, if you haven't heard me say it in our forum, that when companies and organizations hire managers, they're expecting those managers to be leaders too. I mean, nobody hires a pure leader, without some kind of managerial responsibility over staff or funds or equipment. And nobody hires just a pure manager. They want that manager to lead. So I think that's what that objective is getting at. That there's going to be an expectation in a managerial role that the manager will be able to function as a leader. Make sense? Any questions about that before I move on? As to leadership theories, you have been exposed to a bunch of them in the readings and videos and stuff. Did you have any particular questions about any of them?
No, I had a question about one of the charts in the readings, but I guess I can wait on that. I did think it was interesting. I thought it was a nice, in the additional readings, you put in the servant leadership piece. That was interesting. So.
Well, thank you. That is a style that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I'm not saying that I have been a servant leader, but I admire them greatly and have had the pleasure of working for servant leaders. That's just wonderful. You know what? One of the main things that people say will result from a servant leader, they say that that the staff of a servant leader, some of them may try to, get away with stuff because there's not a big heavy hammer. And I don't agree with that. I think a servant leader is perfectly capable of providing the necessary discipline when necessary. And it doesn't follow that a servant leader is a permissive leader. It just means their focus is on the well-being of staff. Make sense?
Absolutely. Very much like parenting.
Yes, sir. Very much. So, if anybody else have questions about any of the leadership theories?
Are the theories different than the 5 approaches?
Yeah, there's just a bunch of theories, and some of them may be considered sub-theories or elements of other theories, but I wouldn't get wrapped around that too much. There's just a lot of leadership theories, and it's good for you to be exposed to them. Well, I'm sure you have been to many of them in your military career as well as outside.
I was really curious about one specific piece, and I don't know if it's a theory or a 5 approach, but it's on table 14.2.
Would it be helpful?
Table 14-2. I don't know if you need a page number or whatnot.
Oh, let me go.
And it's. I've read through it several times. I just can't find a. I'll wait till you get there, but. I think it has page 14-2 is the chart,
This one?
and it's the chart is 14-2 is what it's called.
Okay, this
It's
is
the five
table.
approaches. It's a little inset table there.
Yeah,
5 approaches to leadership.
yeah.
It's
Can
on
you not
page
see it?
443. There you go. No, 443. Page 443.
Page 443. Well,
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. I just had it. Son of a gun. I'm sorry. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now, at the risk of being the class curmudgeon, I am dying to know what is that second bullet? Trait approaches the leadership, which is gender studies. As a guy who's been in humanities most of my academic career, that connotates something completely different. What are they getting out there? Because I couldn't find any sort of definite. I have no idea what is that approach, the trait approach, this gender studies thing.
well, I think they're saying, in a manner of speaking, that gender is a trait. And we had early on in our course a discussion about gender-based communications. To me,
Yeah.
that is academically fascinating to see the differences in the way that men and women communicate. And I think that's generally what they're getting at. I don't know why they call it studies versus traits. I think traits is more appropriate. But I think they're recognizing that there are differences by gender in the way that leaders work with people.
Okay. Yeah. I find these little inserts, these little charts, just because, yeah, I just like the organization, sort of classifications and schema and stuff like that. And this one, I just couldn't figure that one out. What are they getting at? I mean, I read the whole section about how women CEOs are better than men CEOs. And actually, in my experience, that's pretty much been true. But I didn't understand that one. Okay, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I just didn't know if I'm missing something there. But gender studies, that just, I've been in a lot of English departments and things like that. And gender studies, that's a whole different thing. It connotes something else to me. So.
Well, yes, if you look at it, like women's studies majors and stuff like that, from that type of academic perspective, yes, I can see why it would be confusing. But I would put this in the context of leadership and approaches to leadership, which I think gender does impact.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Okay, let's go back to, let's see, that's leadership theories. Any other comments about that? That's a good one.
Let's go for the top button.
Okay, leadership and goal achievement. And I think that managers, somebody hires a manager, they're going to expect them to achieve goals. And I think when, we've talked about the differences between a manager and a leader and, the inspirational factor, what President H.W. Bush called the vision thing, the way that leaders inspire staff, and here we're talking about how they inspire staff to achieve goals. Sorry, another student's coming in. It's Martha, so I hope she's there with everybody. Anyway, that's. I think that goal achievement is something that can be affected by, from the managerial side or the leadership side. But I think basically it's both. And I don't think that there's anything such as a peer leader. There may be, I don't know for sure. But when I say peer leader, I mean hired as a peer leader. Or I suppose it could be more likely that there would be a pure manager without some sort of expectation for them to be leaders. But every manager is going to be responsible for achieving goals.
Doesn't the goal gotta have to flow with the organization, what the company wants to? Don't we have to actually have to, as the manager, basically adhere to what they have and try to tweak it, or we just stay on their path and try to get everybody in line? You think so on that?
I think that is organizationally dependent, Christopher. You know, some managers are going to have a lot more autonomy than others. I think, you know, managers in a fast food restaurant may have some autonomy, but basically it's pretty prescribed, especially in chain restaurants. So versus a manager at Google who's responsible for the creation of various products that are, you know, technically oriented and require a whole lot of creativity in order to achieve the goal.
Right. Okay. I guess what the job I have now, I work with I got a military supervisor position. It's fine, but I got it's basically, you know, everybody basically ran the goals to what the commander want and how it projected the whole mission. But I don't see how that transfers into a corporate world, because in most of the corporate jobs I'm applying for or whatever, they actually want new, fresh ideas. So if I go with a different type of goal, it might not coincide with the already the structure there. Would that be in the long run? Would that be a short-term problem, or you think it'd be a long-term problem? Because eventually, that's a manager's feelings is gonna. I should say feelings. Their mindset is gonna fall back to what they think is right. You know, what your core, what you feel in your gut. You know.
Well, I know, having been in the military, and I think a number of us have, I would tell you that there was not a lot of leeway in the way things were done, but there was some. I was, for instance, a commissary officer, if you know what a commissary is.
Yeah, I know.
I was a dining facility or a mess officer. And so I've had various units that I led or were in charge of. And there, you know, Army regulations, this is Army. Army regulations, you know, prescribe how to do things and how things must be done, and they get inspected according to those criteria. Even so, commanders that come into an organization are expected to exercise some level of creativity and to improve things. So,
Right.
And on the outside of the military, as I say, it's going to vary a lot depending on the industry. Cindy, would you chime in on this? What do you think about the level of autonomy that you as a manager have at Grainger? Is it prescribed pretty much, or do you have, you know, the ability to change things up if you feel it's needed?
You know, I'm really fortunate at Grainger because they give us, I mean, actually we have policies and procedures we have to follow, but we have, as leaders, we have kind of free reign on some things. So attendance when it comes to our team members, if we choose, we can, it's our discretion whether or not we want to give them an occurrence if they call off or they don't. If we want to change things up in our staffing, we can do that. If we need to hire new people, we have the authority to say, yes, we need 2 additional people, and turn that over to the hiring agent, who then gets them. We do our own interviewing. So we have a lot of free reign there. So it's kind of, I enjoy it. Some people don't. You know, they like the more structured. I like to have the free reign to do more or less what I want with my team members.
And Mel, you work for Morrison, right? So, and your mic is muted. We're just wondering what you think about your ability as a manager at Morrison to be creative or to have a lot of flexibility in the way that you manage things, or is it much more structured?
Our management is not really, it's structured, but it's not. We have the free will as long as we're following procedures and as long as we're accountable for what we choose to do and it follows the handbook. We can basically choose, like what she's talking about with them calling out. We're on a point system, excuse me. We're on a point system, so if you are later than 6 minutes, you get a half a point. And if you're call out, you get a full point. But we do have flexibility with that because sometimes, because I put the schedule in the system, if a person will call me and say, I'm going to be 30 minutes late, it was something wrong, like something drastic, and it's not an everyday thing, I might stretch their time back in the demand base an extra 30 minutes. That way when they clock in, they're not actually late. So we have that flexibility, but depending on how a employee works, it's kind of like depends on how we would grant them certain access to things. Because we have people that work for us that take their children to school or pick their kids up from school, and we allow them to take a break or an hour leave to go do those things. So we're kind of flexible. We don't have to stay on a certain path.
That makes sense. Martha, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you with us. So, Christopher, does that address your
Thank you.
concerns? And your
Beg your pardon?
Oh, I was asking
Yes,
if his
yes, it
address.
does.
It does. Okay, great. It's a good question. It's a very good question. Okay, on to our assignments for week 5. So you have an individual and the last learning team assignment. I think this learning team assignment is going to be more fun. I've seen some really great products from this assignment, and it's kind of theoretically and conceptually easy to wrap your mind around. But I love all the creativity I've seen in previous classes with this assignment. As to the individual assignment, which is leadership and strategy, and I'm going there now. Just wondering if anyone, wrong link, Ron. Just wondering if anyone had any questions about this assignment. 1,200 words to 1,400, that's big paper. This one will be run through plagiarism checker, as you might imagine.
Yes.
No questions? That's fine. Anything else on your mind, ladies and gentlemen? So I have some deliverables. I need to, because at Francine's request, I need to provide some practice questions for the final exam and to see if I can provide any guidance regarding the portions of the readings and so forth that the exam questions are drawn from. And so I hope to get that by, I think, Friday. So tomorrow's Friday. I hope to get that for you, well, let's say Saturday. I don't know. I give myself a little leeway maybe. Okay, any other questions for the good of the order?
So Dr. Baker, basically this paper is we have to pick two companies, and we have to, one of the companies needs to reflect the leadership style that we like, and then one of the companies needs to be the exact opposite, correct?
Well, if not exact, certainly a different leadership style, markedly different. I think, unless, let me get back to my assignment instructions. In a direct contrast, that sounds like the exact opposite to me. So maybe your wording is more consistent with the assignment instructions, Francine.
Okay, so in the first bulletin, it was saying use things that were discussed within your team. So are we supposed to insert things from team discussion if our team is having discussion about the leadership styles?
No, there should be no coordination on your paper with the learning team at all. Talking about the leadership and strategy paper, right?
I couldn't hear you.
I say you're talking about the leadership and strategy paper, right? The individual assignment.
Yes, the first bullet. Yes, sir. The first bulletin, I knew it was an individual assignment, but the first bulletin said identify one theory that appeals to you the most from the leadership theories discussed in your team and in text. So that's why I was asking. We do not have to include anything from our team, correct? It just was saying that, or we didn't have to?
And I don't like that wording. I need to change that up. But, you know, if somebody does do something that I've seen before in a learning team, I'm not going to grade it down, I think, because that's what the instructions say. I don't like it. Individual assignment to me means no coordination with the team whatsoever. So I think you'd be good just doing this on your own.
Okay, I started it on my own. I just wanted to make sure we didn't have to.
I get you. Okay, any other questions? If not, then I bid you all a good evening. And
All right, thank you, Professor Baker.
Yep, look forward to seeing you all next week. I will be better by then.
Okay.
Have a good night.
You
Good night.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Feel better.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.